Welcome to Voice Daily Finance, the most important news personalized for you every day. Supported by Voice.com.
Coming up on the show today, we've got 3 stories you'll want to hear. We'll start with a shocking 0.9% jump in the producer price index, a major blow to the Fed's plans and a warning for consumer inflation. Then we'll look at a £10 billion data center boom in the UK, led by firms like Blackstone and Google, that could hike your energy bills and raises some serious sovereignty concerns under the US Cloud Act. And finally, we'll dive into a generational war at Monterey Car Week, where a $100 trillion wealth transfer is tanking values for classic cars and fueling a modern supercar boom that's being compared to Bitcoin. The most unexpected news in the finance world today has to be this. US producer prices just exploded, jumping 0.9% in a single month. That's the biggest surge in 3 years and more than 4 times what top economists were predicting. This isn't a small miss, it's a shockwave. So the thing is, the producer price index, or PPI, measures the prices that manufacturers and producers get for their goods and services. You can think of it as an early warning signal for the inflation that's about to hit store shelves and ultimately your wallet. A surge like this suggests that consumer price inflation is right around the corner. What's behind the surge? The cost of fresh and dry vegetables accelerated by a staggering 38.9%. At the same time, portfolio management fees, a key services cost, soared 5.8%, reflecting the stock market rally. This isn't just one sector acting up. The inflation is broad and systemic, heating up at a pace nobody saw coming. And it's not just about what's in the report, but how the report is made. With vegetables, we're likely seeing the impact of labour shortages and supply chain snags. With portfolio fees, that's pure demand from a hot market. The problem for the economy is that modern supply chain software, even with advanced AI, often struggles to tell the difference. It just sees a price increase, making it harder for businesses to absorb these different kinds of costs without passing them on to us. This data puts the Federal Reserve in a serious bind. While many investors were banking on rate cuts, this report changes the entire game. As one chief economist at High Frequency Economics put it, quote, "This is a kick in the teeth for anyone who thought that tariffs would not impact domestic prices." But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is what the reporting agency itself, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, just announced. It's ending the calculation of 350 different indexes due to underfunding. You see, the BLS collects this data largely through voluntary surveys from about 16,000 businesses. With its budget effectively cut by 20% in real terms over the last decade, it has fewer people to do this work. That means the agency is forced to rely more heavily on statistical estimation, basically educated guessing to fill in the gaps. The very foundation of our economic data is becoming less of a direct measurement and more of an estimate. This has sparked serious concerns across Wall Street about the quality and reliability of the very government data that moves markets. Naturally, when the official gold standard of data is seen as compromised, smart money looks elsewhere. We're seeing the rise of alternative inflation data. Private firms are now using high-tech methods to get a real-time picture, scraping billions of prices from e-commerce websites and analysing millions of credit card transactions. These private indexes can often spot inflation trends weeks before the official government numbers come out. Evidence now suggests businesses are passing these higher costs directly to consumers, and economists warn that these price increases are likely just getting started. The knock-on effect here is both economic and technological. Our modern financial markets run on automated systems. High-frequency trading algorithms that execute millions of trades a second are programmed to react instantly to this data. If the data becomes noisy or unreliable, those algorithms can misfire, creating serious market volatility. It's a systemic risk that starts with a simple funding issue. This all leads to the big question, what is the Fed's real end game here? With inflation running this hot and the reliability of economic data itself in question, can the central bank still justify the rate cuts the market is demanding? The answer will move billions. Speaking of systemic risks that aren't immediately obvious, let's turn to the UK. The country is on the brink of a massive tech boom, but some experts are warning it could be you, the consumer, who ends up footing the bill. The number of data centers in the UK is set to jump by almost a fifth. Nearly 100 new facilities are in the pipeline. fueled by the explosive growth of artificial intelligence. US tech giants like Google and Microsoft, alongside major investment firms, are pouring in the capital. One project alone, a massive AI data center from the Blackstone Group, is valued at a staggering £10 billion. The UK government has actually designated data centers as critical national infrastructure. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of complexity at play. A huge chunk of this critical infrastructure is being funded and controlled by foreign entities. Recent commitments saw over £6 billion pour in from US firms. This raises serious questions about data sovereignty because laws like the US Cloud Act could potentially allow American authorities to access data stored by these companies, no matter where in the world the server is physically located. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn, shifting from data sovereignty to something much more tangible: energy and water. An AI and climate expert points to the US, where she says average citizens in places like Ohio are seeing their monthly bills go up by $20 because of data centers. Her warning for the UK is blunt: mechanisms should be in place for companies to pay the price for extra energy, not consumers. So, how does a data center in your region actually make your personal bill go up? Well, first, the sheer demand for power from just one of these facilities can be equivalent to 100,000 homes. This puts immense strain on the existing electrical grid, which then needs expensive upgrades. And those costs are often socialized across all customer bills. Second, this massive new demand can actually drive up the wholesale price of electricity for everyone. It's basic supply and demand. The UK's energy infrastructure is already so strained that in the first half of 2025, Scottish wind farms were paid nearly £117 million to not produce power simply because the grid couldn't transport it to where it was needed. And believe it or not, we've already seen a preview of this problem. In Dublin, the strain on the grid got so bad that data centers now consume 1/5 of the entire country's energy demand, forcing a complete moratorium on any new construction. A huge part of the problem lies with the cooling systems required for these high-density AI chips. While newer, more efficient liquid cooling technologies like direct-to-chip or immersion cooling exist and can cut energy use, their adoption is slow. Research shows that high costs and the complexity of integrating them mean only about 19% of data centers are currently using them. Now, back in the UK, planning documents suggest 28 of the new centres would be serviced by the already troubled Thames Water. Residents in Hertfordshire are already fighting a £3.8 billion project on Greenbelt land, calling the area the lungs of their home. Now, get this, you'd think building on protected Greenbelt land would be a non-starter, right? Not necessarily. What's crucial to understand here is that because the government has labelled these projects as critical national infrastructure, they can sometimes get special treatment. We've seen this play out before. In places like Ivar and Abbots Langley, local councils initially rejected huge data centre plans to protect the Greenbelt, but the national government, the Secretary of State, stepped in and overruled them, arguing the national economic need was more important. This creates a massive power imbalance where local community opposition can be legally steamrolled. The UK government calls these projects essential for the economy, but with an industry insider admitting that ensuring enough water and electricity isn't something they can solve on their own, the real question is who will ultimately pay the true price for this AI revolution? We were just talking about a technological revolution in the UK. Now, let's shift to a very different kind of revolution, one playing out in the world of high-end car collecting. The classic car market just hit a major speed bump. At Monterey Car Week, the biggest test of the year for wealthy collectors, sales are projected to see a third straight year of decline, an 18% drop from the 2022 peak. And this isn't just guesswork anymore. The classic car world is undergoing a data revolution. Companies like Haggerty are essentially building the Bloomberg terminal for classic cars using massive data sets from auctions, private sales, and dealer listings to model values. So when we see an 18% drop, it's backed by some serious number crunching. This presents a fascinating duality. It's not just a slowdown, it's a full-blown generational war for the soul of the market. For the first time in over a decade, only one car is expected to break the $10 million mark. The reason? The baby boomers who have fueled this market for decades are aging out and clearing their garages. Prices for the legendary cars of the 1950s and 60s are plummeting down as much as 20 to 30% from their peaks. What's fascinating is how this great wealth transfer is playing out in real time. Heirs are inheriting these multi-million-dollar car collections, but they don't share their parents' passion. To solve this, new services and platforms are popping up. Think of companies like Rally, which allow you to fractionalize ownership. Instead of having to sell a $10 million Ferrari, an heir can sell it to the platform, which then sells shares of the car to thousands of smaller investors. It turns an illiquid passion asset into a manageable digital investment. Take the iconic Ferrari California Spider, made famous by Ferris Bueller's Day Off. A few years ago, a top version might have fetched up to $30 million. Today, it's estimated closer to $20 million, and in a move considered highly unusual, 3 are for sale at the same time. As one expert put it, some of the older guard collectors are framing it, the market is soft at the top end. But there's a lot of depth in this market. It's just rotating to younger buyers and newer cars. That rotation is being fueled by an estimated $100 trillion wealth transfer to millennials and Gen Z, and they don't want their parents' garage queens. They're bidding up prices for Porsches, BMWs and supercars from the 80s, 90s and 2000s cars they can actually drive. Interestingly enough, for these modern classics, the very idea of provenance or history is going digital. New technologies like blockchain are creating a secure, unforgeable digital passport for a car, tracking every service, every owner, and every modification. This adds a layer of trust that younger, tech-savvy buyers really value, but there's a catch, and it's a big one. These newer supercars are packed with proprietary software. The right to repair movement is sounding the alarm, because if manufacturers control the software and don't provide support, these cars could become million-dollar paperweights in 10 to 15 years. It's a huge risk that could threaten the long-term value of these very collectibles. For the first time ever at Monterey, sales of these modern supercars are expected to overtake the legendary Enzo-era Ferraris. The old guard is watching this unfold with concern. As one leading classic car advisor warned, if collecting is just about what's more saleable, it becomes superficial. His final shot, otherwise it just becomes like Bitcoin. That comparison to Bitcoin is more than just a dramatic flourish. It's actually incredibly accurate. Both markets are heavily influenced by investor psychology, especially the fear of missing out or FOMO. You see prices skyrocketing, you see social media influencers showing off their new Lamborghinis, and it creates a feedback loop of herd behavior. People buy not because of the car's intrinsic value, but because they believe they can sell it to a greater fool for a higher price later. This kind of speculative surge, detached from fundamentals, raises serious questions about whether this is a real market shift or a bubble just waiting to burst.
That's it for today on Voice Daily Finance. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.